Michael had always been driven, with an ambition that seemed boundless. He wore success like a well-tailored suit, but beneath his polished exterior lay a man deeply conflicted. Born into humble beginnings, Michael felt a burning shame about his past. His father, David, was a simple man with calloused hands and an unyielding spirit. Michael admired his father's strength, but despised the poverty that clung to their family like an unwelcome guest. Growing up, Michael's resentment festered. He distanced himself from his roots, crafting a persona that fit seamlessly into the affluent circles he so desperately wanted to join. He meticulously hid his background, weaving a web of half-truths and omissions. In this world of opulence and privilege, Michael's only fear was being unmasked. The high society he courted was ruthless, and he knew all too well that any sign of weakness would be exploited. David, on the other hand, was a man of principle. Despite their financial struggles, he instilled in Michael the values of hard work and integrity. David's life had been a series of sacrifices, each one made for the betterment of his son. He toiled endlessly, his dreams taking a back seat to ensure Michael had every opportunity. Yet, he couldn't ignore the growing distance between them, nor the shame he saw in Michael's eyes. Michael's internal conflict was a storm brewing beneath a calm surface. On one hand, he longed for acceptance and success. On the other, he couldn't shake the guilt of denying his father. Each social event was a tightrope walk, with Michael constantly on edge, fearing the moment his facade might crumble. The anxiety gnawed at him, creating a chasm between the life he lived and the one he pretended to belong to. David watched this transformation with a heavy heart. He saw through Michael's charade, understanding his son's desire for a better life. Yet, the rift it created pained him deeply. He missed the days when Michael was unguarded, full of dreams, and proud of his family. David never confronted Michael about his shame, choosing instead to observe silently, hoping his son would eventually see the value in their shared history. The turning point came when Michael received an invitation to a prestigious gala, an event that promised to cement his status among the elite. The excitement was tinged with dread. This was a world where his father's presence would be an anomaly. The thought of introducing David as his father filled Michael with anxiety. He knew he couldn't keep his past hidden forever, but the fear of judgment paralyzed him. As the gala approached, Michael was consumed by a desperate need to maintain his facade. He devised a plan to present his father as a mere chauffeur, a background character in the grand narrative of his success. The decision was a painful one, but Michael convinced himself it was necessary. His ambition blinded him to the hurt it might cause, and he clung to the hope that this deception would secure his place among the elite. David, ever observant, understood the stakes. He saw the turmoil in Michael's eyes and knew his son was struggling. Despite his own feelings of hurt and disappointment, David chose to support Michael's decision. He agreed to play the role assigned to him, all the while formulating his own plan. David was determined to show Michael that true worth wasn't measured by wealth or status, but by integrity and character. As the day of the gala dawned, Michael was a bundle of nerves. His mind raced with worst-case scenarios, each one more humiliating than the last. The pressure was immense, and the weight of his deception bore down on him. Yet, he steeled himself, putting on a brave face as he prepared to introduce David in a way that would, he hoped, go unnoticed. The stage was set for a night that would change their lives forever. David, in contrast, remained calm and composed. He knew that this night would be pivotal, not just for Michael but for their relationship. He had spent years quietly amassing his own fortune, building a legacy that would surprise even the most discerning eyes. David's plan was simple yet profound: to reveal the truth and, in doing so, teach Michael the lesson of a lifetime. The tension between father and son was palpable as they arrived at the gala. Michael's hands trembled slightly as he introduced David as his chauffeur. The guests barely glanced at David, their attention focused on Michael. Yet, beneath their polite smiles and nods, there was a sense of superiority that made Michael's stomach churn. He had never felt more alone, even in a room full of people. The night wore on, with Michael navigating the social intricacies of the gala. His anxiety ebbed and flowed, each encounter a reminder of the precariousness of his situation. He watched his father from a distance, feeling a mix of shame and longing. Michael's mind was a whirlwind, caught between the life he had built and the truth he had buried. The moment of revelation was drawing closer, and Michael was unprepared for the impact it would have. Michael's invitation to the gala felt like a golden ticket to the life he had always dreamed of. This event was more than just a social gathering. It was a stepping stone to solidifying his place among the city's elite. The excitement, however, was overshadowed by a looming dread. He couldn't escape the reality that he would have to introduce his father, David, in some capacity. The idea of their worlds colliding terrified him. In the days leading up to the gala, Michael wrestled with his conscience. He knew the deception was cruel, but the fear of social ostracism was stronger. As the event approached, he rationalized his decision. "It's just one night," he told himself, trying to soothe his guilt. Presenting David as his chauffeur seemed like the only solution. It would allow him to navigate the evening without the fear of his secret being exposed. Michael spent hours meticulously planning every detail. He rehearsed his introduction, choosing his words carefully to minimize attention on David. Despite his efforts, a knot of anxiety tightened in his chest. He knew his plan was fraught with risks, but desperation clouded his judgment. Michael convinced himself that this deception was a necessary evil, a small price to pay for securing his future. David, sensing his son's turmoil, remained silent but observant. He watched Michael with a mixture of sadness and determination. David had always been a pillar of strength, a man who faced challenges head-on. He decided to support Michael's decision, even though it meant swallowing his pride. David had his own plan for the night, one that would shift the narrative and teach Michael a lesson he would never forget. The day of the gala arrived, and the tension between father and son was palpable. Michael's mind was a whirlwind of worry, each passing moment heightening his anxiety. He could barely meet David's eyes, afraid of the judgment he might find there. Yet, David's demeanor remained calm and composed, a stark contrast to Michael's frayed nerves. The contrast between them was striking, setting the stage for the dramatic evening ahead. As they arrived at the venue, Michael's heart pounded in his chest. The grandeur of the event was overwhelming, a stark reminder of the stakes. He guided David to the side entrance, explaining once more the plan. David listened patiently, his expression unreadable. Michael's words tumbled out in a nervous rush, betraying his fear. David simply nodded, his silence more powerful than any words he could have spoken. Inside the gala, the opulence was dazzling. Crystal chandeliers cast a soft glow over the room, and the hum of polite conversation filled the air. Michael navigated the crowd with practiced ease, his smile fixed and his eyes scanning for any signs of trouble. When the time came to introduce David, his hands shook slightly. "This is David, my chauffeur," he said, the words bitter on his tongue. The guests barely glanced at David, their interest in Michael's fabricated success. David's presence, though understated, was impossible to ignore. He moved through the room with quiet dignity, a stark contrast to the superficial grandeur around him. Michael watched him from a distance, feeling a pang of guilt mixed with fear. He knew the truth would come out eventually, but he wasn't prepared for the fallout. The night progressed with a tense undercurrent, the weight of Michael's deception growing heavier with each passing moment. David observed the guests with a keen eye, noting their polite but distant demeanor. He understood the game Michael was playing and the stakes involved. Despite his own feelings of hurt and betrayal, David remained steadfast. He had spent years building a quiet fortune, waiting for the right moment to reveal it. Tonight was that moment. David's plan was simple: to show Michael and everyone else that true worth wasn't measured by wealth or status. As the evening wore on, Michael's anxiety reached a fever pitch. He mingled with the guests, each interaction a reminder of the lie he was living. His eyes darted constantly to David, who stood quietly in the background. Michael's mind raced with worst-case scenarios, each one more humiliating than the last. He knew he couldn't keep up the charade forever, but the fear of exposure was paralyzing. David, meanwhile, remained patient and poised. He had spent years preparing for this moment, and he knew exactly what he needed to do. As the night drew to a close, David made his move. He approached the stage, a quiet determination in his step. Michael watched in horror, realizing too late what was happening. David took the microphone, his voice steady and strong as he addressed the room. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen," David began, his eyes sweeping the crowd. "I am not merely a chauffeur, but the true sponsor of this event." The room fell silent, shocked whispers rippling through the crowd. Michael stood frozen, his mind unable to process the revelation. David continued, explaining his journey and the fortune he had quietly amassed. The truth, long hidden, was finally out in the open, and Michael's world was forever changed. David's revelation hit Michael like a tidal wave. He felt a rush of emotions: shame, guilt, and a deep sense of regret. He had underestimated his father, valuing superficial acceptance over genuine connection. The guests' reactions ranged from shock to admiration, their attitudes shifting as they realized the true worth of the man they had overlooked. Michael's facade crumbled, leaving him exposed and vulnerable. The weight of his actions bore down on Michael, each word from David a reminder of his betrayal. He looked at his father with new eyes, seeing the strength and dignity he had taken for granted. Michael's shame was palpable, but so was his desire to make amends. David's words resonated deeply, highlighting the importance of humility and integrity. The night had taken an unexpected turn, but it was a turning point for Michael. David had always been a man of few words, preferring to let his actions speak for him. He noticed Michael's growing distance and the shame he felt about their humble origins. David's heart ached, but he chose to stay silent, watching his son's transformation with a mix of sadness and resolve. He knew Michael's ambition was a double-edged sword, driving him forward while simultaneously pushing them apart. David's silence wasn't born of indifference, but of strategy. He understood that confronting Michael directly would only push him further away. Instead, David decided to let his actions speak louder than any words could. He began quietly accumulating wealth, investing wisely, and building a fortune that even Michael was unaware of. David's plan was meticulous, a testament to his determination and love for his son. As the years passed, David's fortune grew. He continued to live simply, maintaining the facade of a humble man with modest means. He didn't flaunt his wealth, knowing that the right moment to reveal it would come. His life became a careful balance of hard work and secret planning, all aimed at teaching Michael a lesson in humility and the true meaning of success. David's plan required patience, something he had in abundance. He watched Michael navigate his way through the upper echelons of society, his heart heavy with both pride and sorrow. David knew the world Michael was trying to enter and understood the pressures he faced. But he also saw the cracks forming in Michael's carefully constructed persona, cracks that would eventually lead to the moment of revelation. As the invitation to the gala arrived, David sensed that the time was nearing. He saw the tension in Michael's eyes and the anxiety that plagued him. David's decision to play along as Michael's chauffeur was a calculated one. It provided the perfect backdrop for the revelation he had been planning. David knew that by standing silently in the background, he could set the stage for a dramatic and impactful moment. The night of the gala, David's demeanor was one of calm resolve. He knew his role and played it to perfection, maintaining the guise of a humble chauffeur. Yet, beneath the surface, David was prepared for the climactic reveal. He watched Michael with a mix of love and sorrow, knowing that the lesson about to unfold was necessary for his son's growth. David's plan was not just about revealing his wealth, but about exposing the superficiality that Michael had become entangled in. David's moment came when he took the microphone. His voice, steady and confident, cut through the room's chatter. As he spoke, he revealed the true extent of his fortune and the sacrifices he had made. The room fell silent, eyes widening in shock and admiration. Michael's reaction was a mix of disbelief and dawning realization. David's words were a testament to the power of humility and the importance of staying true to oneself. David's speech wasn't just for the guests, it was for Michael. He wanted his son to understand that real success wasn't about wealth or social status, but about character and integrity. As he spoke, David saw the change in Michael's eyes. The lesson was hitting home, and the weight of Michael's actions began to sink in. David's heart swelled with hope, knowing that this moment could mend the rift between them. As David concluded his speech, he looked directly at Michael. The silence in the room was profound, a testament to the impact of his words. Michael's face was a picture of mixed emotions: shame, regret, and a deep sense of gratitude. David stepped down from the stage, the weight of his plan lifting as he saw the beginnings of understanding in his son's eyes. The night had taken an unexpected turn, but it was a necessary one. The aftermath of David's revelation was a whirlwind of emotions. Guests approached him with newfound respect, their attitudes transformed by his story. Michael stood quietly, absorbing the magnitude of what had happened. The truth was out, and the superficial veneer he had clung to was stripped away. In its place was a raw, honest connection with his father, one that had been long overdue. David's plan had succeeded in ways he hadn't fully anticipated. Not only had he revealed the superficiality of the world Michael aspired to, but he had also rekindled a bond that had been strained by ambition and pride. Michael's journey was far from over, but David's actions had set him on a path toward genuine self-discovery. The gala had become a turning point, a night that would forever change their relationship. Michael's gratitude was palpable as he approached David. The words he had struggled to say for years finally found their way out. Apologies mingled with expressions of love and admiration, and for the first time in a long while, Michael felt a weight lift off his shoulders. David's plan had not only taught him a lesson, but had also given him the opportunity to reconnect with his father on a deeper, more meaningful level. The night ended with a sense of quiet triumph. David's revelation had been a gamble, but it had paid off in ways he had hoped for and more. As they left the gala, father and son walked side by side, a silent understanding passing between them. The future held uncertainties, but for the first time, Michael felt ready to face them with David by his side. The plan had come full circle, leading them both to a place of reconciliation and newfound respect. The evening of the gala had finally arrived, and Michael's nerves were frayed. He had spent the day in a state of anxious anticipation, rehearsing his introduction of David as his chauffeur. The drive to the venue was tense, the silence in the car heavy with unspoken words. Michael stole glances at his father, whose calm demeanor was both reassuring and unsettling. The weight of the deception was almost unbearable. As they approached the grand venue, the opulence of the surroundings seemed to magnify Michael's anxiety. The towering pillars and glittering lights were a stark contrast to the simplicity of his upbringing. He parked the car and took a deep breath, trying to steady his racing heart. David, seated beside him, remained silent, his expression unreadable. The moment of truth was upon them. Michael's hands trembled as he stepped out of the car, opening the door for David. The facade of the chauffeur was now in full effect, and Michael struggled to maintain his composure. He knew the eyes of the elite would be upon him, judging every move, every word. He couldn't afford to falter. With a forced smile, he gestured for David to follow, leading him into the glittering hall where the gala was in full swing. Inside, the gala was a spectacle of wealth and elegance. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the room, and the hum of conversation filled the air. Michael felt a wave of intimidation wash over him. This was the world he had fought so hard to enter, and now he stood on the precipice of potential exposure. He introduced David to the first group they encountered, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "This is David, my chauffeur," he said, the words bitter on his tongue. David played his role to perfection, his demeanor humble yet dignified. He nodded politely to the guests, who barely acknowledged him before turning their attention back to Michael. The superficiality of the interaction was not lost on Michael, who felt a pang of guilt with each introduction. He moved through the room, introducing David repeatedly, each time feeling the weight of his deception grow heavier. As the night progressed, Michael's anxiety ebbed and flowed. He found himself constantly scanning the room, watching for any signs that his charade might be unraveling. The fear of being exposed was a constant companion, gnawing at him with every passing minute. He could feel the judgment in the eyes of the guests, their polite smiles masking the scrutiny he feared. Michael's heart pounded in his chest, a constant reminder of the precariousness of his situation. David, meanwhile, remained composed and observant. He watched the guests with a keen eye, noting their attitudes and behaviors. Despite his role as a chauffeur, he exuded a quiet strength that set him apart. He could see the strain on Michael's face and understood the turmoil his son was experiencing. David's heart ached for Michael, but he knew that the lesson of humility and integrity needed to be learned the hard way. The evening wore on, and the tension between father and son grew more palpable. Michael's attempts to keep up appearances became increasingly strained, each interaction a reminder of the lie he was living. He felt a constant undercurrent of fear, the possibility of exposure ever present in his mind. Yet, amidst the anxiety, there was a growing sense of inevitability. Michael knew that the charade couldn't last forever. As the night drew to a close, the moment Michael had dreaded finally arrived. The host of the gala took to the stage, preparing to make a special announcement. Michael's heart sank as he realized what was about to happen. He watched in horror as David began to make his way towards the stage. The room fell silent, all eyes now on the humble chauffeur who had been quietly observing from the sidelines. David took the microphone, his voice steady and strong. "Good evening, everyone," he began, his eyes sweeping the room. "I am not just a chauffeur. My name is David, and I am the true sponsor of this event." The room erupted in shocked whispers, and Michael felt his world collapse around him. The truth, long hidden, was now out in the open. David continued, revealing the fortune he had accumulated and the sacrifices he had made. The impact of David's revelation was immediate and profound. Guests who had dismissed him as a mere chauffeur now looked at him with newfound respect. Michael stood frozen, his mind reeling from the unexpected turn of events. The humiliation and regret he felt were overwhelming, but so was the dawning realization of the depth of his father's wisdom and strength. Michael's carefully constructed world had crumbled, leaving him exposed and vulnerable. As David spoke, his words resonated deeply with the guests. He emphasized the importance of humility, integrity, and the true meaning of success. His story was a powerful testament to the values he had tried to instill in Michael. The guests listened in rapt attention, their previous judgments now replaced with admiration. Michael felt a surge of emotions: shame, regret, and a profound sense of gratitude for his father. The evening ended with a sense of quiet resolution. Michael approached David, his heart heavy with remorse. The words he had struggled to say for years finally found their way out. Apologies mingled with expressions of love and admiration, and for the first time in a long while, Michael felt a weight lift off his shoulders. David's revelation had not only exposed the superficiality of the world Michael had aspired to, but had also rekindled the bond between father and son. The walk back to the car was silent, but filled with a newfound understanding. Michael and David, side by side, were no longer just father and son but equals. The gala had been a turning point, a night of revelations and lessons learned. As they drove away, Michael knew that his journey was far from over, but he felt ready to face the future with his father's guidance and support. The past had been a series of deceptions, but the future held the promise of truth and reconciliation. The gala was at its peak, the air thick with the hum of conversations and the clinking of champagne glasses. Michael tried to blend into the crowd, his anxiety a constant undercurrent. He had been introducing David as his chauffeur all evening, each introduction a painful reminder of his deception. The weight of his lie pressed heavily on him, but he clung to the hope that the night would pass without incident. David, however, had other plans. He had been quietly observing the guests, noting their attitudes and behaviors. His calm demeanor belied the storm brewing within. He had decided that tonight was the night to reveal the truth. The moment Michael had been dreading was about to unfold, and there was no turning back. David's steps were deliberate as he made his way to the stage, his presence commanding attention. The room fell silent as David took the microphone. Michael's heart pounded in his chest, his mind racing with fear and uncertainty. He watched in horror as his father began to speak. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen." David's voice was steady, filled with quiet confidence. "I have a confession to make. I am not just a chauffeur. My name is David, and I am the true sponsor of this event." The gasps and whispers that followed were deafening. David's revelation was a bombshell that rocked the room. Guests who had barely acknowledged his presence now turned their full attention to him. Michael felt a wave of shame and regret wash over him. The truth he had worked so hard to conceal was now out in the open. David continued speaking, his words cutting through the air with precision. He revealed the journey that had led him to accumulate a fortune, a journey marked by hard work and sacrifice. As David spoke, Michael's mind was a whirlwind of emotions. He felt exposed, vulnerable, and deeply ashamed. He had underestimated his father, valuing superficial acceptance over genuine connection. The guest reactions were a mix of shock and admiration. Michael's carefully constructed facade crumbled before his eyes, leaving him with nothing but the raw, painful truth. His father was not the humble chauffeur he had presented, but a man of immense strength and integrity. David's story resonated deeply with the audience. He spoke of the values that had guided him: humility, hard work, and the importance of family. His words were a powerful reminder of what true success meant. The room was captivated, each guest hanging on his every word. Michael felt a profound sense of regret. He had spent years hiding his origins, only to realize that his father's life was a testament to the very values he had tried to distance himself from. The impact of David's revelation was immediate and transformative. Guests who had dismissed him as insignificant now approached with newfound respect. Michael watched, a mix of awe and remorse filling his heart. He had been blinded by ambition, unable to see the true worth of his father. David's revelation had not only exposed Michael's deception, but also highlighted the superficiality of the world he had aspired to join. As the evening drew to a close, Michael felt a heavy weight lift off his shoulders. The truth was painful, but it was also liberating. He approached David, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and gratitude. The words he had struggled to say for years finally found their way out. "I'm sorry, Dad." Michael's voice was thick with emotion. "I should have never been ashamed of where I come from." David's eyes softened, a small smile playing on his lips. David's plan had succeeded in ways he had hoped for and more. He had not only revealed the superficiality of the elite, but also mended the rift between him and Michael. The guests' admiration for David was palpable, their attitudes transformed by his story. Michael felt a deep sense of humility and gratitude. His father's actions had shown him the true meaning of success and the importance of staying true to oneself. The drive home was filled with a newfound sense of understanding. Michael and David, side by side, were no longer just father and son but equals. The gala had been a turning point, a night of revelations and lessons learned. As they drove away, Michael knew that his journey was far from over, but he felt ready to face the future with his father's guidance and support. The past had been a series of deceptions, but the future held the promise of truth and reconciliation. Michael's heart was heavy with regret, but also filled with hope. He had learned a valuable lesson, one that would shape his future. The superficial world he had once aspired to join no longer held the same appeal. Michael knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to walk it with his father by his side. The gala had been a night of revelations, but it was also the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. As they reached home, Michael felt a sense of peace wash over him. The facade he had clung to for so long was gone, replaced by a genuine connection with his father. David's revelation had been a powerful reminder of the values that truly mattered. Michael knew that he had a lot to make up for, but he was determined to do it. With his father's support, he felt ready to face the challenges ahead. The night ended with a quiet sense of triumph. Michael and David sat together, the bond between them stronger than ever. The journey they had embarked on was far from over, but they were ready to face it together. The past was filled with mistakes, but the future held the promise of redemption. Michael felt a deep sense of gratitude for his father, knowing that their relationship had been forever changed by the events of the night. Michael stood frozen, the weight of his father's revelation crashing over him like a tidal wave. His mind was a whirlwind of emotions, shame, guilt, and profound regret. The guests' shocked whispers and admiring glances towards David only intensified his humiliation. Michael felt as if the ground had been ripped from beneath him, leaving him exposed and vulnerable in a way he had never experienced before. The realization of his mistake hit him hard. Michael had spent years crafting a facade, hiding his humble origins in pursuit of superficial acceptance. Now, the truth was laid bare for all to see. His father, the man he had been ashamed to acknowledge, stood before the crowd as the true embodiment of success and integrity. Michael's carefully constructed world crumbled, replaced by the stark reality of his father's unspoken wisdom and strength. As the initial shock subsided, a deep sense of shame enveloped Michael. He had underestimated his father, valuing societal approval over familial bonds. The guests, who had once looked at him with admiration, now regarded him with a mixture of pity and curiosity. Michael's heart ached with the weight of his actions, the depth of his betrayal now painfully clear. He had lost sight of what truly mattered in his relentless pursuit of acceptance. Michael's gaze locked onto his father's, the quiet strength in David's eyes cutting through the chaos of his thoughts. He saw not anger or disappointment, but a profound sadness and enduring love. This realization was a bitter pill to swallow. Michael had let his ambition cloud his judgment, driving a wedge between him and the one person who had always believed in him unconditionally. The guilt was overwhelming, yet within it was a spark of hope for redemption. The room's atmosphere shifted as guests approached David with newfound respect, their attitudes transformed by his story. Michael watched in silent agony, each interaction a reminder of the superficiality he had once aspired to. His father's humility and integrity had won over the crowd, highlighting the true essence of success. Michael's shame deepened, but so did his resolve to make amends. He had been given a second chance, and he was determined not to squander it. The rest of the evening passed in a blur for Michael. He moved through the motions, his mind replaying his father's words over and over. The values David had spoken of, humility, hard work, and the importance of family, resonated deeply. Michael realized how far he had strayed from these principles. His father's revelation had shattered his illusions, leaving him with a clear understanding of the path he needed to take. As the guests began to leave, Michael felt a growing sense of urgency. He needed to speak to his father, to express the remorse and gratitude that now filled his heart. He approached David, his steps hesitant yet determined. The words came out in a rush, apologies mingled with expressions of love and admiration. "I'm sorry, Dad. I was wrong, and I see that now. Thank you for everything you've done for me." Michael's voice was thick with emotion. David's response was gentle, his eyes softening as he placed a reassuring hand on Michael's shoulder. "It's never too late to change, son. I'm proud of you for recognizing your mistakes. Let's move forward together." The simple words held a depth of meaning that resonated deeply with Michael. He felt a weight lift off his shoulders, replaced by a sense of hope and determination. The road to redemption was long, but he was ready to walk it with his father by his side. The drive home was filled with a quiet sense of resolution. Michael and David, side by side, shared a newfound understanding and mutual respect. The events of the night had forever altered their relationship, transforming it into one of honesty and equality. Michael knew that the journey ahead would be challenging, but he felt ready to face it. With his father's guidance, he was determined to build a future based on the values he had once neglected. Michael's heart was heavy with regret, but also filled with hope. He had learned a valuable lesson, one that would shape his future. The superficial world he had once aspired to join no longer held the same appeal. Michael knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to walk it with his father by his side. The gala had been a night of revelations, but it was also the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. As they reached home, Michael felt a sense of peace wash over him. The facade he had clung to for so long was gone, replaced by a genuine connection with his father. David's revelation had been a powerful reminder of the values that truly mattered. Michael knew that he had a lot to make up for, but he was determined to do it. With his father's support, he felt ready to face the challenges ahead. The night ended with a quiet sense of triumph. Michael and David sat together, the bond between them stronger than ever. The journey they had embarked on was far from over, but they were ready to face it together. The past was filled with mistakes, but the future held the promise of redemption. Michael felt a deep sense of gratitude for his father, knowing that their relationship had been forever changed by the events of the night. David stood before the gathered guests, the room still buzzing from his revelation. He could see the mix of emotions on their faces: shock, admiration, curiosity. Michael stood nearby, his expression a blend of shame and realization. David knew this moment was crucial, not just for him, but for Michael and the values he wanted to impart. He took a deep breath, ready to convey the lesson he had spent years preparing. David began speaking, his voice steady and filled with conviction. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is not just about wealth or status. It's about understanding the true essence of success. For years, I've worked silently, accumulating a fortune not to flaunt it, but to ensure my son had every opportunity. Yet, I've seen how the pursuit of superficial acceptance can cloud one's judgment and distort one's values." The guests listened intently, their earlier superficial conversations now replaced by genuine interest. David's words resonated deeply, each one carefully chosen to impart a lifelong lesson. Success is not measured by the size of your bank account or the titles you hold. It's measured by the integrity of your character, the strength of your principles, and the depth of your relationships. I've tried to live by these values, and I hope tonight's revelation serves as a reminder of what's truly important. Michael felt a lump in his throat as he absorbed his father's words. The lesson was clear, a powerful reminder of the values he had lost sight of in his quest for acceptance. David continued, his gaze sweeping the room, making eye contact with guests who now viewed him with newfound respect. We live in a world that often glorifies material success, but we must remember that true wealth lies in the strength of our character and the bonds we share with others. The room was silent, the weight of David's words sinking in. Michael felt a mix of emotions, regret for his past actions and gratitude for his father's unwavering wisdom. David's message was not just for the guests, but for him. It was a call to reevaluate his priorities and understand the true meaning of success. Michael knew he had a long way to go, but his father's words had ignited a desire for genuine change. David's eyes softened as he looked directly at Michael. "My son, this journey hasn't been easy, and I know the pressures you face. But remember, the values you hold dear will guide you through the toughest times. Humility, hard work, and integrity are the cornerstones of a fulfilling life. I've seen you struggle, but I've also seen your potential. Embrace these values, and you'll find true success." Michael felt tears welling up, the emotional weight of the night finally breaking through. David's words were a lifeline, pulling him out of the mire of his past mistakes. He knew he had been given a second chance, and he was determined to make the most of it. The superficial world he had once coveted now seemed hollow in comparison to the genuine connections and principles his father spoke of. The guests, too, were visibly moved. David's speech had transcended the superficiality of the gala, leaving a lasting impact on all who heard it. Michael saw the change in their expressions, a shift from polite interest to genuine respect. The lesson of humility and integrity was universal, resonating deeply with everyone in the room. Michael felt a sense of pride in his father, coupled with a renewed commitment to living up to his example. As David concluded his speech, the applause was heartfelt and sustained. The guests approached him, not with the hollow flattery of before, but with sincere admiration. Michael watched, his heart swelling with a mix of pride and determination. The evening had been transformative, not just for him, but for everyone present. David's lesson in humility and integrity had struck a chord, leaving a lasting impression. Michael approached David, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you, Dad. Your words mean more to me than you can imagine. I promise to live by the values you've taught me." David's eyes shone with pride as he embraced his son. "I believe in you, Michael. Remember, it's never too late to change and make things right." The bond between them was stronger than ever, forged in the crucible of truth and mutual respect. The drive home was filled with a sense of quiet reflection. Michael replayed his father's words in his mind, each one a beacon guiding him toward a better path. He knew the journey ahead would be challenging, but he felt ready to face it. With David's guidance and the lesson of humility firmly in his heart, Michael was determined to rebuild his life on a foundation of genuine values and integrity. As they arrived home, Michael felt a deep sense of peace. The facade he had clung to for so long was gone, replaced by a genuine connection with his father. David's revelation had been a powerful reminder of what truly mattered. Michael knew he had a lot to make up for, but he was ready to do the work. With his father's support, he felt prepared to face the challenges ahead and live a life of true success and fulfillment. The night of the gala had been transformative for both Michael and David. As they drove home, the silence between them was filled with unspoken understanding. Michael's heart was heavy with the weight of his past mistakes, but also lightened by the prospect of redemption. He glanced at his father, seeing him in a new light, a figure of unwavering strength and wisdom. Michael knew that the path to reconciliation would be long, but he was ready to walk it. Back at home, Michael and David sat down together, the events of the night still fresh in their minds. Michael took a deep breath, his voice trembling with emotion. "Dad, I'm so sorry for everything. I was blinded by my ambition and forgot what truly matters. Your words tonight, they opened my eyes. I promise I'll do better." David's response was gentle yet firm. "Michael, it's never too late to change. I'm proud of you for recognizing your mistakes. Let's move forward together." The days that followed were filled with heartfelt conversations and reflections. Michael began to understand the depth of his father's sacrifices and the values he had upheld. David shared stories of his own struggles and triumphs, each one a lesson in resilience and integrity. These moments of bonding brought them closer, healing the wounds that had festered for years. Michael felt a renewed sense of purpose, driven by a desire to honor his father's legacy. Inspired by David's example, Michael decided to channel his energy into meaningful endeavors. He joined his father in various philanthropic projects, using their combined resources to make a positive impact in the community. They funded scholarships for underprivileged students, supported local businesses, and invested in sustainable initiatives. Each project was a testament to the values David had instilled in Michael: humility, hard work, and the importance of giving back. Working side by side, Michael and David developed a new rhythm. Their relationship built on mutual respect and admiration. Michael's perspective shifted as he witnessed the profound difference their efforts made in people's lives. He realized that true success was not about social status or material wealth, but about making a meaningful impact and staying true to one's principles. Michael's transformation was gradual but profound, guided by his father's unwavering support. Their journey was not without its challenges. Michael faced moments of doubt and temptation, remnants of his old desires creeping back. But each time, David's words echoed in his mind, grounding him in the values they now shared. Michael learned to navigate these obstacles with integrity, finding strength in the bond he had rebuilt with his father. The process of reconciliation was ongoing, but with each step, Michael felt more aligned with the person he aspired to be. As their philanthropic efforts grew, so did the admiration and respect from the community. Michael's past indiscretions were overshadowed by his genuine commitment to positive change. The superficial world he had once craved faded into the background, replaced by a fulfilling life of purpose and authenticity. Michael's redemption was not just a personal journey but a public one, inspiring others to reevaluate their own values and priorities. David watched his son's transformation with pride and satisfaction. The distance that had once separated them was replaced by a deep, unbreakable bond. He saw in Michael a reflection of his own principles and was gratified to see his son embrace the lessons he had fought so hard to teach. Their partnership was a testament to the power of humility and redemption, a beacon of hope for those who had lost their way. Michael's journey of redemption reached a milestone when he was invited to speak at a community event. Standing before the audience, he shared his story, the mistakes, the lessons, and the profound impact of his father's wisdom. Michael spoke with honesty and vulnerability, his words resonating deeply with those who listened. It was a moment of catharsis, a public acknowledgement of his past, and a declaration of his commitment to a better future. The applause that followed was heartfelt and sincere, a testament to Michael's transformation. As he stepped off the stage, he felt a sense of fulfillment and peace. David approached him, his eyes filled with pride. "You've come a long way, Michael. I'm proud of the man you've become." Michael's heart swelled with gratitude. "Thank you, Dad. I couldn't have done it without you." Their embrace was a symbol of the journey they had undertaken together, a journey of reconciliation, redemption, and enduring love. The journey continued, but the foundation was now solid. Michael and David worked tirelessly on their projects, each day a new opportunity to make a difference. Their bond grew stronger, their respect for each other deeper. The lessons of humility, integrity, and the true meaning of success guided them in every endeavor. Michael knew that the road ahead would still have its challenges, but with his father's support, he felt ready to face anything. The night of the gala had marked a turning point, but the real transformation happened in the days and years that followed. Michael's redemption was not just a singular event, but a continuous process of growth and learning. He embraced the values his father had taught him, living each day with purpose and integrity. The bond between Michael and David was a testament to the power of love, forgiveness, and the enduring strength of family. The story of Michael and David is a powerful reminder of the importance of humility, integrity, and the strength of familial bonds. Michael's journey from shame and deception to redemption and reconciliation with his father is an inspiring tale that highlights the true meaning of success and the value of staying true to one's principles. Their story shows that it's never too late to change and make things right, and that the bonds of love and family can overcome even the deepest rifts. If you enjoyed this story, you'll love the next one. The sick man helped a beggar and everyone laughed at him. Days later, a millionaire appeared at his door. It's a touching tale of kindness, judgment, and unexpected rewards that will surely tug at your heartstrings and leave you wanting more. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and activate notifications so you don't miss any of our daily emotional stories. And if you'd like to support us in bringing you these heartfelt tales, check out the fixed comment for a link to buy me a coffee. Your contributions help us continue to share these inspiring narratives every day. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.